This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, I'm Sabrina Brown. Thank you for joining us. Topping the news tonight, an apparent bomb scare at the C.A. Smith complex this morning, resulting in the immediate evacuation of all persons in that building. Now, authorities have not released a statement on the incident, but we can tell you that after some time, persons were able to re-enter the C.A. Smith complex around noon today. Bahama, the reopening of small and medium-sized businesses remains a major focus post-Hurricane Dorian. Tonight, Megan Shepherd tells us that more financial assistance is on the way for this vital sector from a non-governmental agency.
Mercy Corps International has been on the ground post-Hurricane Dorian, assisting residents of Grand Bahama with their water distribution sites. But now the organization will also be expanding their efforts to the business community. Program Officer Tizelle Lightbourne says that they will be launching their early economic recovery program for small and medium-sized businesses that lost their assets during the storm.
What we want to do is not only offer resources in terms of grants to help them get back on their feet, but also give them tips using our subsidiary program called Micro Mentor. So it offers financial literacy and helps them to prepare not only with getting their assets, but also preparing them for next year's hurricane, because we know that hurricanes come every 6 months out of the year. So we want them to rebuild stronger and more resilient.
She says existing businesses with government licenses or Port Authority licenses can qualify for $10,000 toward their rebuilding efforts.
Businesses that are especially important to the economy, so we know that tourism is a large industry here, but then we also want to support supply chains that other small businesses need in order for them to get their supplies. We are definitely encouraging businesses to buy local in this, because what we want to do is not only help businesses get back on stream, but we really want to boost the economy. And so part of the program encourages businesses to first look within, either here in Grand Bahama, or try to get their sources from New Providence before they go and purchase from the United States, just so we build up the economy here in Grand Bahama.
Lightbourne is encouraging the business community to take advantage of this opportunity.
You can either come to our office, which is at the Better Business Executive Center, and we share a workspace with Keys Bahamas Realty, and then we will also be sharing this information on GBPA's website, because they're partnering with us in addition to the Small Business Development Center. So it'll be on their LinkedIn, it'll be on their social media pages, and as well as their website.
Now, Mercy Corps is also looking to add to their team while on island.
So we are looking for a program manager, someone who can not only cover the entire program, but specifically focus on the economic recovery program. So anyone that has a business background, any entrepreneurial skills, definitely project management, that will also be advertised on GBPA's LinkedIn. And it's an internal position, and so you could find it on glassdoor.com, then specifically look up Mercy Corps Program Manager.
Lightbourne says they plan to remain on island for another 6 months. Megan Shepherd, ZNS Network News.
Tonight, members of the Christian Council are giving their take on whether or not the records of those convicted for small amounts of marijuana should be expunged. Jamila Missick has details.
President of the Grand Bahama Christian Council, Reverend Robert Lockhart, says he is not in total disagreement with Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis's recent statement expressing his support for the expunging of records of those convicted for small amounts of marijuana. However, the president says he does think that the government should look at other means of punishment.
Because many persons have tried to move on and haven't been able to move on because they've made a mistake sometime when they was 17, 18, 19, and now they're trying to move on. It's just a small quantity of marijuana, smoking a joint. So I do agree with us making some amends for those and allowing persons to move on from their mistakes and their misjudgments.
Leader of the Pastors Forum, Apostle Anthony Grant, says he too agrees that there should not be a record for possession of small amounts of marijuana, noting that alcohol consumption is far more dangerous than the plant.
Alcohol has a greater effect on our ability to respond, our reflex, and our ability to think quickly. And so for that reason, it is far more damaging. Most of the domestic violence, you hear a lot of that have to do with alcohol. And so alcohol is far more dangerous to the society than the marijuana, and no one gets a criminal record, even when there's a car accident and somebody is injured and end up in the hospital. But for a joint, you're going to give somebody a criminal record? I think not. I think that is wrong.
Now, while the clergymen say they do not agree with the broad legalization of marijuana, they do feel that it can be legalized for medicinal purposes only. Once
we're able to see exactly what that means and how that would be controlled, of course, anything that can be helpful, because most all medicines, or most of them, or many of them, come from plants. And we know that God created plants, and many of the plants have medical and health purposes. So to the extent that marijuana can be used for those purposes, we're open to that. But again, of course, you would want to see what that's going to look like from a legalization perspective.
I've seen it, as a matter of fact. I've known of cancer patients who've tried all of the other things, the chemo and the radiation, and got no help. It did nothing for them. But they tried the medicinal marijuana, and that was of tremendous help. You know, some of theirs are still living today, and they're not addicts. You know, because it's controlled. So I definitely believe that we need to look at it for medical purposes.
They say that drugs should never be used for recreational purposes.
I think when people start using any type of drug for mere recreational purposes, then you're entering into the danger zones. And it can also, and in many cases, lead to addiction. And once persons get addicted to an addictive substance, then they lose total control of their whole lives and become not only a burden to themselves, but to their families and to society. So that's never a good thing.
The spiritual leaders contend that persons should be careful when it comes to legalizing any kind of drugs, and that those who are addicted to drugs should seek help. Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Now to news from the court. A Grand Bahama man hauled before the courts to face serious criminal charges today. 22-year-old Cadwell Cooper of Beaconsfield Avenue appeared before Magistrate Rankin Johnson, where he was arraigned on 2 counts of attempted murder and possession of a firearm with the intent to endanger life. Now the charges are in connection with an incident that occurred on Friday, November 22nd. Police say shortly after 9 p.m., officers were called to Raleigh Drive, where there were reports of gunshots being fired. Upon arrival at the scene, officers met a man with a gunshot wound to the leg. He was transported to hospital by ambulance, where officers discovered a second victim with gunshot wounds to both legs. Both victims reported that they were on Raleigh Drive when 2 men dressed in dark clothing, one armed with a firearm, opened fire, hitting both victims in the leg. Their injuries are said to be non-life-threatening. Now in court, Cooper was not required to enter a plea. The matter was adjourned to March 3rd of next year for trial. He was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until then. Stay with us. There's more news after this.